Kira had always known she'd come back. Her grandfather's stories had followed her since childhood, tales of a tall, silent creature that watched travelers in the vast Australian outback. He spoke of it with a mix of fear and reverence, describing something that wasn't quite human, but wasn't just an animal either. To everyone else, he was just a crazy old man spinning yarns. But to Kira, his words were gospel. Now, as a documentary filmmaker, she finally had the chance to prove it. She packed her best camera, lenses, and a whole lot of gear, and set off for a place the old stories called Karujangwala, the place where the shadows walk. Her guide, a cynical outback veteran named Jack, scoffed at the legends but was more than happy to take her money. As their ute kicked up red dust, rolling deeper into the endless desert, Kira felt a prickle of anticipation. Something ancient was waiting for her out there. They made camp at the base of towering, ancient rock formations that looked like sleeping giants. While Jack built the fire, Kira went to inspect the nearby rock art, thousands of years old. She saw familiar images of hunters and kangaroos, but then one figure made her stop dead. It was tall, stick-thin, with oversized, haunting eyes. It was exactly as her grandfather had described. As darkness fell, the outback came alive with a chorus of strange sounds, the kind that echo across the plains and make the hair on your arms stand up. They weren't the calls of any animal. Kira recognized. She glanced at Jack. He was trying to look calm, but the slight tremor in his hands gave him away. Kira couldn't help but smile. This was it. This was the start of her proof. She carefully placed her night vision cameras around the perimeter of their camp. Something was out there, and it was watching them. At dawn, it was Jack who found them. The footprints, they were humanoid, but all wrong. The toes were far too long, and the stride was immense, nearly 2 meters between each step. This was no person. They followed the tracks for miles, winding through narrow gorges and across sun-baked flats. The prints were fresh, pressed deep into the red sand. Kira's heart pounded in her chest as she photographed every single one. Her grandfather wasn't crazy. He hadn't lied. Jack, the confident skeptic, grew quieter with every step. His eyes, once dismissive, now constantly scanned the horizon, a new tension in his shoulders. By the afternoon, they stumbled upon something truly unsettling. A pile of stones, stacked neatly in a perfect, mesmerizing spiral. No wind or animal could have done this. It was deliberate. An intelligent design. They decided to camp near the stone formation, a feeling of being watched now impossible to shake. Kira set up 3 motion sensor cameras, aiming them at the spiral and the paths leading to it. Jack, no longer mocking the legends, insisted they take turns keeping watch through the night. It was around midnight, during Kira's shift, that it happened. The motion sensors pinged. On her laptop screen, a silhouette moved between the cameras. It was tall, impossibly thin, and it glided with an unnatural smoothness that defied logic. "Jack, wake up," she hissed. He was up in an instant, armed with powerful torches in the main camera. They crept out of the tent. The air outside felt different. It was charged, electric, and a low hum vibrated through the very rocks beneath their feet. It wasn't the wind, and it wasn't an animal. It was a sound that felt ancient, almost like a song sung in the dark. They followed it to a clearing nestled between massive boulders, and there it was. The creature stood at least 2.5 meters tall. Its skin was a gray-brown color that seemed to absorb the light around it, making it hard to focus on. Its limbs were long and slender, like the branches of a dead tree. But its eyes were what captured her. They were large, almond-shaped, and glowed with a faint, golden light. They held not malice, but an overwhelming intelligence. It didn't attack. It didn't even seem threatened. It simply tilted its long head, studying them with a clear, calm curiosity. Slowly, carefully, Kira raised her camera. For 30 seconds that stretched into an eternity, human and creature just watched one another across the clearing. Then, it made a sound, not a growl, but a complex, melodic series of notes that sounded almost like a language. With a slow, deliberate movement, The creature gestured with one of its three-fingered hands, pointing first to the brilliant carpet of stars above, and then to the ancient rock art on the nearby cliffs. Kira felt a jolt of understanding. It was communicating. It was trying to tell them something about time, about its place in this land, about permanence. The creature then took a graceful step forward and placed something on the ground between them. It was a perfectly spherical stone, cool and smooth, carved with the same spiraling symbols as the rock pile they'd found. A gift. Jack whispered her name, urging her to back away, but Kira felt compelled to step forward. She bent down and picked up the stone, surprised by its weight and coolness in the desert night. The creature made a soft sound that felt like approval. Then, with a fluid motion that was both eerie and beautiful, it slipped back into the shadows and was gone. Back in the tent, they were silent for a long time. Kira reviewed the footage over and over. It was undeniable, clear high-definition proof of an unknown species. Intelligent, communicative, peaceful. This footage would change science, history, everything. Jack was adamant. We have to take this to the authorities. To the world. But Kira hesitated. She thought of her grandfather, of the indigenous elders whose stories had preserved this secret for generations. She thought about what happens when sacred places are discovered overrun by tourists, dissected by scientists, exploited by greed. The creature had trusted her. It had offered a gift, a connection. Did she have the right to betray that trust for fame or scientific glory? The decision felt heavier than the stone in her hand. The next morning, Kira called her aunt, a respected elder in her community. She described everything: the tracks, the sounds, the creature, the gift. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, her aunt's voice came through, steady and wise. The Yaramayahu is no legend, child. It is one of the guardians. They were here before us. They watch, they protect, they keep the balance of this land. Your grandfather was honored by one. Now, you have been too. But with honor comes responsibility. In that moment, Kira understood. Some truths aren't meant for headlines. Some wonders need to remain hidden to survive. This wasn't her discovery to share. It was a sacred trust to uphold. She made her choice. With Jack watching, she opened the laptop and deleted the files. All of them, except for a few brief, ambiguous clips of shadows moving in the distance, enough for a documentary about the power of Aboriginal legends, but nothing that offered concrete proof. Jack argued at first, but seeing the resolve in her eyes, he eventually nodded in agreement. The carved stone was packed away carefully. It would be returned to the elders, to be kept safe where it belonged. As they packed up camp to leave, Kira glanced one last time at the rock formations, and there, on the highest peak, a familiar silhouette stood against the rising sun. The creature was watching them leave. Kira slowly raised her hand. Across the distance, the creature mirrored the gesture, a silent farewell, an understanding that passed between two worlds. 6 months later, Kira's documentary, Whispers on the Wind, won multiple awards. In interviews, she spoke passionately about respecting ancestral stories, and how not everything in this world needs to be proven by science to be true. When reporters asked if she really believed in the creatures from the legends, she would just smile, a knowing, mysterious look in her eyes. The carved stone now rests in a sacred place, guarded by the elders. And Jack, he went back to being a guide, but he never mocked the old stories again. Sometimes, on quiet outback nights, travelers still report seeing a tall, silent figure watching them from a distance. The elders just nod. Some mysteries, they say, deserve to remain mysteries, because some wonders must be protected by the world's own disbelief. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the world's hidden corners.